Hello, mamas and papas, daddies and mummies, uncles and aunties, mentors, guardians, most importantly and especially those parents and guardians and mentors who are based in the UK. Um, child abuse, child abuse encompasses a lot, and it is a crime here in the UK. A lot of times, uh, our young children, they may not have a voice of their own. So it is strike law that because children don't have a voice of their own, the state is supposed to protect them. A lot of times, I hear people when they are commenting on these topical issues, they become cynical. Maybe people that are not a lot of people a majority of people in the third world countries, they talk about children abroad who call police for their parents, children abroad who divorce their parents, children abroad who are unruly and all of that. They What they fail to understand is that children must be children, whether they are abroad, whether they are um, in the third world countries, wherever they are around the world. Children must be children. Even as adults, we still deviate. We still do things that are not acceptable. We're still disrespectful. We're dishonest. We cheat. We lie. We sometimes also steal. We involve and indulge ourselves in habits like gambling, smoking, binge drinking, and all of that. Even as adults, even though we know that what we're doing is wrong, sexual immorality, debauchery, all of that. Even though you expect that at our age we're supposed to know right from wrong, so talk less of children who are still growing. Their brain has not completely developed. So children are children all over the world. Um, the only difference is that the environment and how the law protects the children, how the law also sees their family values, and how the law supports and encourages parents um, to do and also educate them to do the right thing in order not to raise broken children, in order not to raise bitter children, in order not to raise children who end up becoming perpetrators of domestic violence, in order not to raise children who end up becoming adults who are pedophiles, in order not to raise children who end up becoming adults who, because of the anger and the resentment that has been inbuilt in them, they become so violent that they end up in prison as murderers. So these are typical disturbing issues which we sometimes need to talk about because they are very important. So a lot of times for within the Christian community, we always talk about sparing the Lord and sparing the rod and spoiling the child, and then spoiling the so we would rather um not we would rather not spoil the child, and so we use the rod, so we use the whip, we use the belt, we use uh weights, cruel weights. We're cruel, we kick, we call names, we damage the children mentally, psychologically, emotionally. Sometimes they experience this violence even amongst us adults within the home environment. So we model violence to our children in our homes. We call it discipline. As a matter of fact, some of the children actually grow up actually thinking that the reason why they turned out well is because, according to them, according to the belief, they were properly flogged and caned and called names, and that's what molded them. Their interpretation of success is has to do with maybe they've been able to go through university, they've qualified as lawyers or doctors or whatever, but inside they're broken people. Inside they have mental health problems. Inside they have resentment. Inside there are two demons actually fighting on the inside of them. They are confused as to who they truly are. And some of them live with this pain the whole of their life, never seeking help, professional help, never talking about it, but they just slide through life. Some of them are lucky enough to slide through life without pain and somehow manage to find themselves not killing somebody or not becoming violent. But the majority of the time, a lot of them end up becoming abusive husbands, abusive wives, um, husbands who physically abuse their wives, wives who physically abuse their husbands, um, husbands who mentally, psychologically, and emotionally abuse their wives by stonewalling, by stonewalling, because they may have also suffered negligence when they were being raised. They may have suffered abandonment when they were being raised. They may have been ignored and silenced when they were being raised. They may have been told that they didn't need to be heard, but they needed to be seen when they were being raised. So they bottle this bitterness on the inside of them, and then when they get married, they can stonewall for like they say, for the whole of Africa. On a lighter note, because I really don't want to laugh over this thing. These are very serious, life-threatening issues that actually affects children and adults. It affects communities and the world at large. Now, as far as the UK is concerned, when you hit a child, you spank a child, you call the child names, you neglect the child, it is a criminal offense. So if you are coming from Africa, where the laws are flexible when it comes to hitting a child or neglecting a child or mentally abusing a child, or when where sometimes even when you know that a child is sexually being abused, it is brushed under the carpet, it is covered because the family doesn't want to be named and shamed. But it's a different ball game here when you come in. So when you come in, the first thing you should be thinking, how do I abide by the laws of the land? The laws of the land, how do I apply abide by the laws of the land so I don't get into trouble with the law, I don't get into trouble with the police, I don't get into trouble with the social services? Because no matter how much as a parent you want to hide these things and you say to your child or to your ward, everything that happens in this house stays in this house, one day something is going to happen. They will mention it to their friend, the friend will mention it to another friend, that friend will mention it to the teacher. You might be surprised to know that some of their friends' parents may even be a social worker, and they go home and they mention it, and then um you put the whole family in trouble. I tell you, the best way of raising a child is to show a good example. Another best way of raising a child is to love that child. Love the child to the extent that the child now understands, even when you are disciplining them by directing them, they now understand that friendship to the extent that they want to obey you. Love the child to the extent that you are able to communicate what is it they have done that you are upset about. Love the child in such a way that the child is able to understand that violence, it's not the best way of resolving conflicts in a home. And the way you can do it is to model that in the home between your spouse. So between you and the child's parent, the other parents who has also parental responsibility over that child, towards that child. Model um, a violent free home environment to the child, even in the relationship you share with the father of that child or the mother of that child. And then when the child grows up, the child begins to replicate that same system of things, system of communication, um, a system of not a stonewall, a system of always wanting to talk when there are issues, so that the issues can be resolved as quickly as possible, in order not for it not to kind of now begin to spread and to begin to grow wings and to grow branches, resulting in something more um, disastrous that endangers the unity of the family. So be aware and be warned, to because to be forewarned is to be forearmed. It is against the law of the land in the UK for you as a parent to hit your child, to call your child names, to neglect your child. A child who is under 10 years of age cannot be left in the home, locked up in the home, while the mother goes out to do shopping or goes out to work or whatever. If the neighbor calls the social services or calls the police, the child is going to be taken away from you. And the bad thing of it is that if there are 2, 3 children in that family, the whole of the children, and they will be taken away from you, because they've seen you that if you can do that to if you can abuse child one, then the remaining children are not safe in your hands. So be careful when next you are calling that child all kinds of names, when next you are hitting and kicking the child. Be careful when you see your spouse, your other half doing the same thing. Talk them out of it. Don't say it's none of my business. Talk them out of it. It is not even more about getting into trouble with the law. It's more about the damage that is being done to that child later in life, when the child becomes an adult, grows up, leaves home, gets married, and starts having children of their own. They are going to replicate that violence. They're going to replicate that violence. That is why the circle of violence, it is difficult for us to break it. So now, rather than look at the cure, because we always talk about the cure, let's look at the cost. And one of the major reasons why there is so much violence all over the world, even amongst our young children, you see the knife crime and the gun crime on our street and everything, is because of the violence in our home. So as much as possible, let us reduce the violence in our home by teaching our children, communicating more with our children rather than flogging them or hitting them or calling them names, loving them more, making them understand that we love them by our conduct, giving them a hug, having a family time with them, being present in their lives, going for a walk, taking them, talking to them about life and life's experiences. And then thirdly, showing, and most importantly, showing them a good example by the kind of relationship we share with our own spouse that is violent free. Very, very important. So in rounding up, remember, violence, violence. Remember, violence. Violence is not the best way of resolving conflict. Let's not raise our children in a toxic environment of violence where the husband and wife, they fight, they shout, they scream, and they flog the children every blessed day. Flogging children, hitting children, kicking them, calling them names, it damages their self-esteem, it damages their self-worth, it damages their confidence, it brings about resentment, it bottles up anger in them. They become very angry people, very agitated, very anxious. And then when they grow up, they replicate it in their own relationship. So remember, violence is not the best way of resolving a conflict. The Bible portion that says spare the rod and spoil the child relates, it literally means um, um, the rod of discipline. Discipline a child, but don't break the spirit of a child. You are free to discipline a child, but don't, in doing that, make sure you don't break the spirit of that child. Stop raising children who grow up to be broken adults because of your excessive use of violence. God bless you as you ponder on this. If in any way you've been affected by this topical issue, maybe you have been abused as a young child, or you are going through problems with social services and you need help and advice, please contact me. Send me an email on life class. Sorry, life class 2021. Life class at 2022, sorry, .com. Life class 20 at 2022.com. And I will obviously, the moment I receive your email, I'll be able to respond to you within 24 hours. Also, if you have a story you want to share on this platform so that other people can learn from your experiences, feel free to contact me also, and then we'll arrange a meeting and we'll just take it up from there. Remember, children are the future. Minimize violence in the homes by setting a good example. The best way of raising a child, a healthy child, is by loving them. The second best way is by showing them a good example. The third best way is by instructing them and letting them understand that communication, effective communication, is the key. Violence is never the best way of resolving conflict. God bless you. I'll be on your way. See you. Bye.